Hello, pip shit. It is me. I am back. I got 5 things to go through right now, so let's get at her so we can try and fit this all into one little video and not 2 little videos. Getting a new phone though, and it's going to have 128 gigs, so this won't be a problem anymore whenever I get said phone. Anyways, first up is a book. Book 2 in the Thrawn Ascendancy trilogy called The Greater Good. In this middle book of the trilogy, Grand Admiral Thrawn, although he's not a Grand Admiral yet, is still out with his fleet, looking to mop up the rest of the Nakardan resistance that they dealt with in the first book. These pirates that are terrorizing the chaos, which is that wild space area that the Chiss kind of live in. And they end up doing that, but along the way they keep finding these little clues and hints and things left pointing at something else, but they can't quite unravel it. And if anybody can, though, it is Thrawn, because he is clever as hell. And the flashbacks in this book aren't centered on Thrawn and his allies as he was coming up. It's focused on this race of aliens called Angui or something like that. And in particular, this guy's name is Halpin or something like that. And it kind of focuses on his story of how he planted thoughts in various different Chiss factions' minds about this really valuable mine on this certain planet, where they mined this really valuable metal for these crafts, these brooches that they made and stuff like that, and they're giving out willy-nilly to all the Chiss and getting them all excited about this metal that's so valuable, and they just treat it like, oh yeah, it's no big deal, we make crafts out of it, that's how much we have. So the problem with this is, with spreading these little things about this so-called mine, is that the Chiss are divided into different family hierarchies, and there's 9 ruling families, there's 40 great families, and then there's hundreds and hundreds of families outside of that. So it's all about status and being at the top and stuff like that. So this alien, he is leaving all these hints to different Chiss families to get them competing over this phantom mine, so that they'll all show up in the end and fight over the mine and cause a Chiss civil war, basically, leaving the Chiss ripe for destruction, and maybe they'll destroy themselves or greatly cripple themselves, and then these aliens can finish them off, or whatever their grand plan is. So that's how this book rolls along, and in the end, Thrawn and his allies have to defuse this situation over this planet that this supposed mine is on, as they kind of defuse it and send the families all on their way back to where they came from without firing shots at each other and destroying each other and kicking off said civil war. Next up, another book in the Star Wars High Republic series called Midnight Horizon. So this story takes place after the events of the first few books that I've mentioned. The initial hyperspace issue where all the Nihil pirates blew up that ship in hyperspace, and then all the wreckage came out of hyperspace and destroyed so many things. The Republic Fair has happened, the destruction there. So in this book, it starts off on the world Corellia, which is where Han's from, and it's a big shipbuilding planet. A young woman named Crash, who runs kind of a protection agency, has 2 of her operatives go missing while protecting a politician, and so she is really downhearted about this, because one of them was like her best friend, and she has evidence that one of the people responsible for the disappearance is a Nihil pirate, and but everybody's kind of like, the Nihil in the core like this? No, they're on the outer rim, they're in the fringes of the galaxy, they're not a threat here. But turns out they are. So Starlight Beacon sends out a few of their Jedi to Corellia to help Crash with this Nihil problem. So it's Jedi Masters Comac and Cantum, I forget their last names, and then their Padawans Reeth and Ram, as well as a Force sensitive they have in their charge named Zine. She goes along with them, eventually meets up with them there after dealing with her own stuff. Well, the other Jedi, that they're allied with go off to check something else. I forget what it is, but it's kind of insignificant to the story. So they end up on Corellia. They end up hooking up with Crash, and then they get kind of led on this kind of wild goose chase of what the Nihil are up to, and they think they have things figured out, and then they don't, and they have to do all this undercover stuff. In the end, the plot is revealed. The Nihil are planning on, at first the Jedi think they're planning on destroying these massive ships that they're building at the Corellian shipyards, but they actually come to a realization that they're not planning on destroying these ships. They're planning on stealing these ships and then using them to attack Starlight Beacon, which has already had a pre-attack go on, so the station's already crippled. So there'll be rescue workers and people like that on site. So these cruisers full of Nihil, Starlight won't see it coming. They'll think their allies coming to help, and it's just, no, it'll be a massacre. They'll finish the job basically and cause tons of body count. So it's up to the Jedi to stop this from happening, and yeah, that's basically the story. A couple of cool things in this book. Being on Corellia, we get to see the worms, the Grindelids, make an appearance, and we see a young Lady Proxima show up in this story. If you remember Lady Proxima, she is the worm that ran the crime syndicate that Han and Kira were part of in the Solo movie. So she's mentioned in that. I think there was another little Easter egg in there, but I forget what it was. I really like the story in this book. I really like the arc of where this High Republic thing's going. However, I didn't like the way this book was written. Almost every sentence had an exclamation at the end of it. It was like everything was said like with wow, wow, wow. And every character in the book almost had some sort of like serious trauma and problem going on, and they were just always so exhausted and downcast and had to lean on their friends and be propped up and stuff, and you can do it, you got this sort of thing. And that's kind of what our culture has become. It's everybody, and I'm not saying there's no such thing as mental illness. I know it's all too real. I know there's lots of stuff out there, but it's almost like the more coverage this kind of stuff gets, the more it's blown up and stuff like that. And it's like, I could have had a bad stressful day at work and I could say, I have mental illness, it's like I just find people fall back too much now on excuses and stuff like that, instead of saying, yeah, I had a shitty day and I had to fucking sack up and deal with it, right? Like it's just, that's the whole problem with all this new culture and all the being woke and all this nonsense. It's, nobody can take a joke anymore. Nobody can laugh at themselves. Nobody can have a sense of humor about anything. Everything's serious. If you say one wrong thing, you're an asshole or a racist or fucking whatever, and they're gonna cancel you, right? It's ridiculous. And this book kind of reminded me of that, just because everybody's so, I don't know, just dependent on everyone else, and every little problem is a big problem. Right now, when you're getting shot at, that is a big problem, but you know what I mean. It's just the whole tone of the book kind of rubbed me the wrong way in that fashion. But like I said, the story arc and this whole High Republic thing, where it's going, I really, really like it.